Hey guys, welcome to the second episode of Supadupa. We have a special guest, the other part of the ant theory.
The way more buff one.
Yeah, the way more buff one. The looks of the podcast or of the reaction channel.
Let's go with that.
Yeah. The one and only Mr. Jmac.
Hello,
brother.
How's it going, man? Thank you for inviting me into your humble abode here.
Yeah. Of course.
It's cool to see the new place and to be here alone with you without Scott.
Yeah. Well, yeah, right. This is way over. I feel like the better reactions were the ones without Scott. You just lingered a lot, you know.
Yeah, and I'll say this up front. I promise I would not talk any smack about Scott because I listened to the entire first podcast, which you should as well. He didn't talk smack about me once, so I was very proud of him.
Yeah.
Except we can at some point get into what we're gonna do with this John Reeves situation with him and Scott.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of this friendship that they've been cultivating.
We definitely will get into that because
good.
We definitely need to conspire a little bit to break that up.
It's my only current beef with Scott.
Yeah.
So his relationship with John. I'm gonna put it at that because I'm assuming this isn't a tea podcast, but
no,
we can make it one.
We'll make it one, and so that's actually one thing we will get into that. That's something that I was kind of telling you off camera that is what I really hope that the viewers are getting from this. It's just kind of a little bit more of a in-depth look into the onion that is
my soul.
Yeah, your soul. You know, the layers of Jmac, right? Because
there's a lot of those.
Yeah. They know you from the reactions, and I don't know how big your fan base is because you were doing other stuff on YouTube.
I'd be interested to know what my personal fan base looks like.
Yeah.
I know there's some of them out there.
Yeah,
I know that.
hey,
but
put stuff in the comments. You know, I mean, we want to know. But that's my hope is just to you as a person. You know, obviously there's some things that I know about you being your friend for so long that I'm pretty positive there's a lot of things I don't know about you, you know, because we met as teenagers.
Yeah.
So there was a whole part of your life before that, you know, that I kind of am interested in, you know. So I guess I'll start it off with the same way that I started off with Scott, you know, when you were just a boy, when you were just a little,
just a wee lad.
You know, what were you like? What were your dreams? What were your aspirations?
When I was a kid, it was mainly sports. I know you know about that. Growing up playing sports, it was baseball 90% of the time. I mean, every weekend it was baseball. During the week, it was practicing. Shocker. I wasn't a huge fan of school. Obviously, so I did what I could. When I was younger in school, I'd get A's and B's, and I was on the honor roll.
But it was a lot easier.
Then my mom likes to famously say, when you start hanging around all those kids, and one of those kids was Scott. All of a sudden, you wanted to stop eating your vegetables and stop. Like, Mom, no, that's just me being a rebellious teenager.
Yeah.
I became 13. I didn't want to eat my peas anymore.
Yeah.
Scott didn't tell me, oh, you're lame if you eat your peas.
Yeah.
For some reason, my mom believes that, but.
I wonder if Scott's mom ever told him anything about us, because I got the same talk from my mom too.
Doubt.
Yeah, you don't think
Doubt. Only because Scott was the at least to me, minus there's a couple other specific people I won't name. Scott was one of those that could always get away with everything. It could seem like.
Yeah, it seemed
now stepdad Mike was a little hard on him at times, but like with his mom, I feel like he could easily kind of. But not manipulate her, but work the system in a way, if you could say it like that.
I tell you what, Scott's relationship with his mom is something that I've always enjoyed.
Oh, it's funny.
Just the dynamic and everything.
It's funny because she'll call all the time when we're recording, and their dynamic is hilarious. I mean, you know, it's not toxic. It's just hilarious.
It's funny.
The way
it's
they
funny.
talk to each other.
Time.
It's funny, yeah.
But you, I know for a fact you have a great relationship with your parents, which is really awesome.
Yeah. I'm blessed to still have them both in my life, and I mean that's not without saying that everybody's gone through hardships and trials and tribulations and verbal arguments and stuff like that. 100%. But I'm very blessed to have them both.
Yeah, and that's super awesome. I think coming from my parents weren't together. I did have a stepdad, but like, you see those things, those are always great, because it's like, as a kid that didn't have that, it's like, oh man, that's awesome. And you feel good for your friend whenever he, you have that. So it's pretty awesome to see that,
Yeah, I've always I've grown up with a lot of my friends throughout my life, either being part of a single parent household or, a parent that passed away. And I've always looked at it being as very blessed that I still have both of them. Now, are there times where it's not always? This sounds so pretentious, but well, if you had both your parents, if you didn't know, sometimes it's a struggle. Not saying it's a struggle, but it's also one of those things where I couldn't get away with as much as I thought I could, and so when I was younger, I was very much a rule follower.
Yeah.
I did what I could. I did what I was supposed to do in school and everything in sports.
Yeah.
Didn't really rebel. I didn't rebel until I was older.
Yeah, but I think it's also good though, because it's by having that reality check of you can't get away with certain things, because
right.
The good thing about having both parents is you have a team, and being a parent of 5, having a team of 2 people hey, y'all need to be quieter.
you know more than anybody.
Yeah. So I think it's good because there's a lot of things that I do admire about you, and I feel like some of the decisions that you've made in your life have panned out really great for you, and again, in my shortcomings of I was a very early parent and I went through a lot of struggles, and there are some friends that didn't go through certain struggles, and I admired. I was like, man, that's a good head on your shoulders, type situation. So.
I'll be the first to admit, I don't have anything to complain about. When it comes to I've never really had anything really bad happen to me. I've never had to struggle. I'm gone almost the last 9 months without a job. Of course, that's a struggle.
Yeah.
But that's a me problem. That's something I got to take care of. But yeah, I was very fortunate to not have to really deal with any crazy situations as a kid.
Yeah, that's good.
But I think it also made me kind of how I am now, where I'm just I like to decipher and question everything, because growing up I had one mentality, but then as I grew older and kind of released from my show, went out in the world, I kind of created this own world, but kind of was able to create and form my own opinion on the world. And I don't know, I like to look at things very analytically, and I can say, looking back, I have nothing to complain about at all.
No, that's good.
And I know that's not the case for everybody. So all I can say is that I've been blessed.
Yeah. So what you meant by that was I guess, growing up, your parents are raising you, and they're raising you a certain type of way, and you had a certain type of mentality. Is that what you're saying? Because of how you were raised,
right?
Once you got out, you were able to live the world on your own, and say, oh, well, maybe these things are slightly different than the way that they had mentioned and stuff like that. So what you mean?
Right. Something I got from my parents was always treating people with respect, no matter who it is. Even if you don't know the person, is always treat them with respect.
Yeah.
But what they didn't teach me is, my mindset is, I'm going to treat you with respect, but the moment that you screw me over, all my respect's gone for you. And you either have to work really hard or I just cut you off. I'm very much that type. So that's, of course, something they didn't teach me. But that's something that I learned. That, okay, you can have this broad faith in people, and I did. I was very gullible as I was younger, but as I've gotten older, I'm I can see through your bullshit. That's something that, the way I was raised, I guess I couldn't see, because I was always taught to look for the good in people and never look for the negative, and I always do. That's I try to be cordial and be super nice to everybody I meet and talk to them, but the moment one person says something I don't like, I'm I don't like that person no more.
Yeah. And you know what? That's funny that you say that, because I feel like I have seen that from you too, because I think, we went from hanging out a lot when we were young, then life happens, and, we didn't see each other for a while, and then we reconnected, through this channel and everything. And, so I missed the growth part of it. I just saw who you were back, as a teenager, and then who you were as a 30-year-old,
perfect scenario is the AF30.com situation that first came up when we first became a channel.
Yeah.
When we had a falling out with somebody.
Yeah.
That I don't really know, but I treated that person nicely and with kindness, and then they did something to kind of screw over us for a very petty reason.
100%.
Now, I better not catch him in the streets. I don't mean that it's not a threat.
Yeah, of course. And that's funny. I don't think we've ever talked about that.
I listened to your last one with Scott. You guys kind of course, went over the beginnings of everything.
Yeah.
But didn't mention that. I was like, okay, I gotta throw that in there.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, maybe that's something that when we, cause hopefully I can get the three of us on something we can kind of talk about.
Oh yeah.
Because I think at this point enough time has passed where it's like,
I'm not gonna lie, I checked about a month ago and it's still like for sale for like $100,000.
Oh shit, yeah.
Damn30.com.
Yeah. There's a story behind that. I think at this point I think it's maybe it's because I'm not with the channel anymore, so I'm like, I don't give a fuck, But
and it's technically Scott's fault. I know, actually, no, it technically was your fault.
It's my fault.
Never mind.
No, it's 100%. It's that.
Dang, I'm sorry. I feel bad for Scott's gonna listen. Why you trying to blame everything on me? He's gonna call me.
No, it was definitely my fault. But that's a good story to get into. But back to you. So you say one of your first passions was baseball, right?
Yeah.
And me and you see eye to eye with that because that was my first passion too.
Yeah.
How did you get into baseball? Like, was it something that your parents introduced? Did you just get into it or what?
No, it was one of those things where I was 4 years old and my dad put me in t-ball because he loved baseball. So he put me in t-ball. And I remember this. I had a lot of concussions in sports and football later on in life.
Okay, yeah.
But I can remember certain things. Like I can remember vividly playing t-ball in Garland at Rick Oden Park.
Yeah, Rick Oden. That was over there behind North Garland,
by Saturn, and I can't remember what that other street is.
Oh, Saturn.
In between North Garland or Garland Road and First Street, there's then the park. It's all kinds. It's all different now.
I see what you're saying. I see what. Yeah.
But I vividly remember playing there as a kid, playing t-ball, and then just growing up in that, because it wasn't something like before I played t-ball. I was like, oh, like I'm so gung ho about sports. I'm like, I'm 4. I don't know, but I found this thing where I can hit this ball. Oh, I get to throw this. I get to run around it. And it was just kind of one of those things. So after a couple of years, like I became sentient and realized oh, this is like a sport. This is a game. And I just kept playing year after year. My dad was my coach all the way up till high school.
Oh, wow.
We bounced around from Garland to Richardson to kind of the surrounding cities.
Yeah.
Up until
we lived in the cusp of Richardson and
yeah, kind of the boat. So we played in Gabby, Garland Association of Baseball, and then RBI, which was Richardson Baseball or whatever. And it was also cool because I'm sure you know this, but like it's weird to like play with people, like play with other players, like when you're young, and then you end up going to school with them.
Oh yeah.
And or like seeing them later in life.
Yeah.
So that was always kind of cool. Like there's always like random connections I had with people just because we played baseball together.
Yeah.
And like I'll see like somebody that like I'm friends with on Facebook, but I haven't talked to them since we played baseball together when we were 12.
Yeah.
But it's like just cool, like because it's fun to reminisce about those times. But yeah, no, it was. That's literally like I would say 90% of like my memories as a kid was like it was all about sports.
Yeah,
sports, and then I discovered video games. So, but it was 95% of the time just sports. Like that was. I didn't care about what was going on during the week. It was just got a baseball game Saturday or a doubleheader Saturday. Yeah. That's all I cared about.
Yeah. What is one of your fondest moments of baseball? Because so I tell Sarah when I played baseball, there's like little plays that I did or certain parts where it's like you won the game or you did this. Like so in your years of baseball, is there like what's your fondest memory of playing the sport?
So my fondest memory, because I have a few. I was up to bat. For the Richardson City title for whatever little league we were in, I was up to bat and got a single to win the game. Won the city championship for our division or whatever. Yeah. That was a great moment. because I cried uncontrollably. Not that I cry uncontrollably at everything, but
things.
my most fondest one was, as you know, I came to North High School, North Garland High School, my junior year, and what UIO rules, like when you switch schools and you can't be on varsity or whatever, so they stuck me on JV over at North. Coach Rodriguez, he was so excited that I was there because I should have been on varsity, but I legally couldn't. And you were there on varsity.
Yeah.
So they stuck me on the JV team. Well, it's funny because I'm going to essentially tell two stories in one, and I'm going to put it on record so I don't have to talk about it ever again. But you know the infamous hamburger story with Scott.
Yeah.
Essentially, Scott ate all my hamburgers. And
you don't do that.
And left me at the school at the Battle of the Bands by myself to defend myself. He'll have to come on here and defend himself, but basically he was mean to me. And I got in a huge fight with all of our friends, and I essentially told all our friends,
"Fuck you guys,
catch me outside." How about that? In a less friendly way.
Yeah.
Well, at the same time, so that all happened on a Friday. Monday at Naaman was baseball tryouts.
Yeah.
And essentially I had to try out just to try out, but like it was one of those things. I had been on the team for 2 years.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to go on varsity now instead of being just, on JV as a junior. And no offense, but the competition at Naaman was way more than North, because this were a bunch of the kids. Like if you wanted to play varsity, you were there or Saxy or wherever.
Yeah.
So I do the tryout or whatever, and I go up about an hour later, look at my name on the list. My name's not on the list at all. And I'm like, what the hell? Like
at all.
And I had been on the team for 2 years. I was close to everybody, close with the coaches. And so I go in there, I'm like, Coach, my name's not on the list. Like for JV or varsity, I'll take fucking JV. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
He's like, well, since you failed in this previous semester, one of the 6 weeks, there was just a issue of liability compared to you and a couple other people, so we decided not to go your route. We went with another, which turns out the kid that they picked had just had ACL surgery like 2 months before, so couldn't really barely walk.
Couldn't play, yeah.
It was essentially one of those situations where my parents were part of the booster club.
Yeah.
But they weren't funneling in money. We weren't rich.
Yeah.
A lot of those parents were funneling in money.
Yeah.
Turns out this kid's parents were a big donor to the school, and so essentially they made a political decision.
Yeah, to get him in, yeah.
My mom didn't like that. She went up there and let them have it.
Yeah.
So that happened on Monday. Well, also that same Monday, obviously that Friday I had told all our friends, and that weekend I was like, you catch me, I'm you're gonna catch this fade.
Yeah, you're going through it, huh?
So of course I ate lunch in the choir room on Monday because they wouldn't find me there. They wouldn't know to look there. All that stuff happened on Monday.
Yeah.
I wanted to play baseball. Yeah. So Tuesday morning, my dad took me up to the school and essentially unenrolled me.
Yeah.
And we told everybody,
fuck you guys.
Yeah, fuck you. We're leaving.
Yeah.
Actually went to Saxy that same day. Saxy was having their baseball tryouts. Met the coach at Saxy. Essentially had a tryout. Coach wanted me on the team. He's like, oh, hell yeah. Because I had extreme discipline from being at Naaman and being on select baseball team. So, like, it was different. Like, you know, as a baseball player, you can tell. So there's some kids that are, like, they're good, and then there's some kids that are good. And I'm never one to be like, oh, I was pretty good at baseball.
Yeah. Especially going through select and at Naaman.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's just a different level, like your thought process with stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, when I first got to North, the first hit I ever had was a double, and I slid into second, and everybody was like, nobody had seen like a proper slide before, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
You know what, man? I was like, instantly I was like, oh God, I'm the best player on this team. Which Coach Rodriguez loved. He was so excited.
Yeah.
But so essentially, I did the thing at Saxy.
Yeah.
I then went into the school with my shirt untucked, which I didn't know at the time was a rule at Saxy. You had to have your shirt tucked in. They were like all very like.
Yeah.
Which after that I was like, well, I'm glad I met the principal. Everything was cool with the principal, and then I told him that I had already talked to the coach for the baseball team and tried, and he wants me on the team. He wouldn't let me come to the school because I didn't come talk to the principal first. It was like a weird. swinging his fucking dick.
Yeah.
I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
So my last option was North, which also was coincidentally 2 minutes away from my house anyway.
We're a fucking magnet school, okay? You're going to get an education here first, okay?
And no, there were some smart kids. Again, I wasn't in school for the smartness. But so I essentially walked onto the team at North. Yeah. But UIL rules, I had to be on JV. They couldn't legally put me on varsity. Well, but what I was going to say, so that long story to tell a very short story of my favorite moment was, and the reason why I tell you that is March 29th, 2005.
Damn.
I know it vividly. North was playing Naaman, JV. And of course, I'm on there. So it's me going to play at Naaman, the school I've been playing at for the last 2 years.
And they had a nice field.
Very nice field. With all the people that I had played with. Mm-hmm. The funny thing is I was a pitcher and a catcher, but I was mainly a catcher.
Yeah, I remember that.
So all their pitchers, I knew what they threw. I knew how they threw. Uh-huh. And some of these kids I had been catching for 10 years at that point. So it ended up being that game, and I told Coach Rodriguez, I was like, I want to pitch. Mm-hmm. He's like, let me start. And he's like, okay. Because you can see in my eyes, like, let me start. Yeah. I started. I pitched probably the best game I've ever had in my life.
Hell yeah.
I struck out the kid that took my spot on the team on 3 pitches. It felt so fantastic.
3 pitches?
Yeah.
Nice.
It was so fantastic. I hit a 2-run triple off a dude that I had been catching for 10 years. Because I knew, I was like, he's going to throw a curveball right here. And he left it up in the zone, and I'd right center field. I remember, I could still feel it coming off my hands. It was one of those where it felt perfect coming off the barrel. I was like, oh, can't even feel it in your hands.
You can't feel it. Yeah, I let that.
And I pitched 5 innings. We were going to win the game. My dad's in the stands, and he came down. He's like, all right, it's time to go. It was the same day my nephew was born.
Oh, my
So God. Not only did I go back and get to beat Naaman, struck out a bunch of the kids that I knew, including the kid that took my spot.
Hell yeah.
Helped get the lead on them that we maintained and won the game. It was also the day that my nephew was born. So the pictures of me with him when he's newborn, I'm in my North Garland jersey because we came straight from the game. So that my favorite, and I have so many, but that's beyond my favorite because it was just poetically everything that had happened up to that point.
Yeah.
Being able to face them. It was literally like, as it was happening, I was like, this is like a fucking movie, dog. Like,
yeah.
But I had that extra. If anybody says, like, I heard something the other day, somebody was talking about, some sports writer was talking about, like, oh, momentum in sports isn't a real thing. And it had something to do with the World Series, like, oh, momentum is not a real thing. Like, well, obviously you've never played sports because momentum is such a huge factor.
Yeah.
And momentum and motivation, and I had enough momentum and motivation that it was the most beautiful sports day.
Momentum, motivation, and then when everything goes right, because I think luck has a lot to do with it too, right?
Yeah, 100%. Because you could be good at a certain point, but if you didn't throw that curveball up in the zone, who knows? Maybe I wouldn't have hit that. You know, if my from pitching, if my curveball wasn't curving right that day, maybe I wouldn't have hit as hard. It could have put 10 runs up on me, and then I would have watched my nephew be more like, oh, I'm such a loser. You know, but it happened the way it did.
But also in a team sport, because I like literally right before you got here, I was watching because the Dodgers just won the World Series.
Yeah.
And when they lost the lead, they were breaking down that inning.
Oh yeah.
And it's like how the pitcher did amazing, but it was really the players around him. And as a pitcher, it's frustrating when you yourself are having such a great game. You're getting people to ground, you're getting people to pop up, and the rest of the team ain't executing.
Right.
That's the hardest part to go through. So it sounds like everything just went right. Everything went great.
Yeah.
Can you describe, because I want to get into this because you actually have lived this with me, the feeling of like the euphoric feeling that you get when you're playing a sport and you either hit the winning run or everything's going good. Put into words what you feel, or describe that.
So going back to where I said I had the winning hit of when we won we were like, we were 10 or 11. We won the city championship in Richardson. Yeah. And it's honestly, it was one of the most obvious out of body feelings I've ever had. Because it was just a lazy single. But we had a guy at their tie game. Ended up scoring the run. Yeah. But I remember vividly, like, I hit it, I ran to first base. Instantly, like, tears. And I'm an emotional person. Like, I'll cry in any movie.
Yeah.
Movies I've seen multiple times, too. Yeah. But it was like this euphoric feeling. Like, it's honestly something I can't really describe. Like no drugs or alcohol could even fathom it, because it was just like an overwhelming rush over my body of happiness.
Yeah.
And even at that age, relief.
Yeah.
Because it was like, we were like 19 games in at that point, but we're 11.
Yeah.
Like, 19 straight Saturdays, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things. And like, to win it the way we did, and like to have that run come in, like I remember like running to first, just being excited, and like just tears coming down my face.
Yeah.
And like turn around and like everybody's like mobbing at home plate, and I run back too, and my dad grabs me and kind of lifts me and like turns me like we're in a dance or whatever. But like, it's like, I don't remember it, but I remember it. It's so hard to describe. But it's literally, at least so far, there has never been like a more perfect feeling. And it would be great to feel that again, but it's also not one of those where I'm like, I want to feel that again. No. It was like, in that moment, in that time, it was right. But it's also like, it's what they say, a core memory. Yeah. Like, it's, I can tell you right now what it feels like, but I can't describe it.
Yeah. Really. I tell these stories to my wife, right? And I use the exact same line you just said. No alcohol, no drug has ever made me feel when I like those stories where it's like, because I have stories where, you know, you it's a very important game. I go out there and I strike every motherfucker out. Like, I can't tell these stories without like the memory of the feelings coming back,
right?
Feeling like the fucking man, you know,
right?
And it's like you said, I've never had any outer stimulant or anything that has made me feel that alive, you know?
Right.
And so it's funny because I tell my nephew, and I don't know about how you feel. Let me know if you've ever felt the same way. What I told my wife is that, like, I think that could have messed me up as an adult, because you got to think about, we've been going through, so I started in second grade. You started in the fourth, when you were 4, but then the games that matter are probably like, you know, late elementary stuff, right? But then you start going through these high intense moments, because we didn't win all of them, right?
Oh yeah.
And so the down, how low you feel when you either you lose because of you're the last strikeout, or you walk somebody that allowed them to win. Like, the lows are lows, and the highs are so highs that I feel like I was prone to fall into kind of emotional music, because emo music.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I don't feel normal, because I went through such high intense moments as a young kid. It's hard for me to really feel high.
Right.
And it's like, because I felt those highs, I feel like I'm prone to melancholy, you know? Maybe not even so much depression.
No, I get what you're saying.
But just kind of like, you know, and I think that I see that with a lot of athletes where they're like, you know, and you know, I'll open up, like, you know, you start kind of falling into certain things because you're trying maybe not chase that same feeling, but it's like, again, you felt such intensity when you're young,
right?
You're older. Like, when are we ever going to feel those things outside of like when your kids are born and all that stuff?
Right.
That's the closest that I can really say I've gotten to those feelings. Do you kind of concur with that, or?
Yeah. I mean, cause it's, again, and I haven't had kids, so you know, I don't have really anything else to put it up to, but I can imagine, like, it's a pretty close,
pretty
feeling.
Intense,
but like that, even that, like, so losing, I think I didn't want to get political here, and it's not going to get political at all, really, but I get the idea of things like participation trophies. I totally get it, because there's a lot of kids out there who play sports, and let's be honest, they maybe not be good, right? But I know how much joy it brings to like, oh, I got something, like I got a trophy at the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's just a generational thing, or if maybe it's a sports thing. But like when I was younger, the year before we won the championship. The year before that, we lost like the game before the championship, and it hurt.
Yeah.
But it wasn't one of those things where I'm like, oh, like I'm sad, like, and I don't like this anymore. It motivated me.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's been so many. I've lost more than I've won in life, and I mean like lost like didn't have this thing go perfectly exactly right for me, you know. And that can be in, you know, my personal life, work life, whatever the case is. But anytime, and I take it back to sports, like anytime I lost or didn't get something that I wanted, it just motivated me more. I never had the you know, really like a melancholy, like how you mentioned, like nothing that really made me like, oh, like I hate this and made me not want to do anything. It just made me want to be like, get back out there and do more.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of I want to say kind of a lost art.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially in sports. Like, and like as somebody who doesn't have kids, I should never be like, see, this is what I would tell kids. Like, yeah, you may not always be able to get everything that you want, but that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I see kids and I see people who were given everything as a kid with no restrictions.
Yeah.
And I see how they've turned out now. Something goes bad for them.
Yeah.
It's the end of the world.
Yeah.
To me, like I lost my job. I'm like, well, shit. Shit happens. You know, you got to figure it out. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
And I think I learned that from sports. Like having like I said, my whole childhood was baseball and sports.
Yeah.
Losing. I'm like, that was like my whole life.
Yeah.
But I didn't ever like, the first day I was sad, like, oh, I hate this. Like, I'm never coming out of my room.
Yeah.
But the next day, I'm in the backyard. My poor parents, I broke every window in their house. Even the brick on part of their backyard is still caved in from me throwing baseballs against it.
Okay.
I broke almost every picket of the fence.
I thought you broke everything because you lost.
No. That's
just for
but that's
practicing.
me going out there and practicing. Like I didn't always like. If it was during the week, like I get home from school, we didn't have practice every day. I'd be in the backyard practicing myself, and it wasn't anything that, like my dad told me you had to go out there and do that. I wanted to, because I wanted to be better, and I knew the only way I could get better is if I kept practicing, kept doing this, because it prepares you for a game.
Yeah.
When you lose that, it's to me like it never translated into like. Feel bad for me, feel sorry for me, or like I never felt sorry for myself. I'm like, tough shit.
Yeah.
Get back out there.
Yeah.
And I look at that in a lot of things in my life. And I feel like as like a culture and society, like we've given too much to people, or like instead of like something bad happening, we're very quick to be like, oh, it's okay. Don't worry, you're special. Like, I think too many kids were brought up being told that they were special.
Yeah.
And they weren't.
Yeah. And
their parents kind of filled them with this false sensehood. And so now, like, they're adults and they lose something very minor, and it's the end of the world. And to me, I'm just like, it's just gonna make me stronger. Like,
100%.
I don't know. It's just, I guess it's just a mindset thing. But I attribute it to sports, like, my whole outlook on life, like, that motivation that I have, and like, not to say I don't get down at times, like we all do. But like, I try to not be down and let things motivate me. I think that's why I always seem so chipper and always like gung ho about things, because I'm just like,
well, there's a few things.
I can sleep when I'm dead. I'm fine. I can be sad then.
There's a few things that you said that I do want to touch upon. Well, the first thing is you're right, because in sports, naturally, every year there's only one champion.
Exactly.
Meaning however many teams and players on that team lost.
Yeah.
And nobody's winning the championship every year. But you're chasing this thing. So it's like there is some solace in the fact of saying like, oh, you know what? Well, shit. All the other teams lost too, except for one.
Right.
So it's like, it's all about
you're not alone.
Yeah. And two, You know, I think the only thing me and you have really done together has been the ant theory. And you know, one of the things that I do admire and I've always given you props for is being the engine behind, you know, the ant theory because of your work ethic. You would attribute that to I mean, you say that sports that's something that it taught you was that work ethic?
Well, yeah, it definitely did because it kind of helped me like go into the workforce with that same kind of mentality. Like I didn't go to college. Right when I graduated high school at 17, I went to work for Verizon, burying cable. So I went from playing sports to physical labor and construction. Like it really taught me a lot, and like just like work ethic wise, like my first job was construction here in Texas in the heat, and then when it's not the heat, the rain. Work doesn't stop. You're still out there in the mud and in giant lime green safety suits and stuff like that. Like, so I've always taken that into like work and like anything. Like, I don't consider the ant theory work, but like I look at it and I'm like, this is easy. And I guess I've always looked at like certain jobs. Like I went from construction to after 10 years of construction, then having an office job. I remember my first day walking into an office job and I'm like, I'm there halfway through the day. I'm like,
it's fucking easy.
What are y'all complaining about, dog? Y'all are in the AC all day. This is the easiest shit I've ever done in my life. And I excel at it. Not because I knew everything about property management. I didn't know a damn thing. But it was just like, this is what you want me to do. You want me to sit down all day
in the AC,
in this AC, talk to a couple angry people, calm them down, and put it in orders.
Easy peasy.
So I became a supervisor after like a year.
For sure.
I'm like,
and you know, it's funny because like the last thing I wanted to hit on what you were saying about baseball is the kid aspect of it, because I feel like it is true. Like, this is what I told Brooklyn when she was little. You weren't born to do anything, right? But you can do anything you want. It's like that. It's what you put the effort into, right? It's like, you know, if you put a lot of effort into one thing, something has to happen. It's kind of like the cause and effect thing, right? With her, you know, she's an artist, you know, and I used to always tell her, because again, I'm thinking baseball, right? And I'm thinking, okay, well, defensively, I was good because, you know, I'm just grounding balls, you know? And so it's like, what are her ground balls? What are her ground balls? Because I like, to me and my stepdad, I didn't care. I loved practice more than the game, really. Like, he could just sit there and hit to me, and I was just happy, because in the game, you might only get hit to like twice. But in practice, I'm
getting those reps and I'm not like, busy.
And so that's what I told her. It's like, you know, so I was like, what are her ground balls? Lines. And so I was like, hey, you want to be good at drawing, like, let's say roses. Well, draw 100 roses. And tell me that at the end of 100 roses drawn, you are not better than when you went into it.
Compare your first to your last or some in between.
It's got to be a numbers thing. The more you do one thing, the better you get at it, you know? And so
repetition.
And so like, you know, kind of like, you know, because you said you hadn't had kids, but as a parent, that's something that like I took away from baseball that I was able to apply to them. I'm trying to teach Peter basketball because it looks like he's going to be pretty tall, you know?
Nice.
And, you know, he quit on me one time and I made him feel bad for quitting. Not that he didn't do it.
No,
like, you weren't being successful at the thing we were trying. I don't care about that. I care about the quitting. And I felt bad because, again, like, you know, with Brooklyn, you know, she lived with her mom, slightly different, but he lives with me. And so, I did kind of, I don't think I went overboard, but I was just like, oh, nah, you're a quitter. I don't like quitters, you know, all this stuff. Well, the next time we went, I'm like, hey, you're going to quit on me? He's like, no. And he didn't make any baskets, right? And I was like, I don't care about that. What I cared about is you didn't give up. So then we go the next time. We go the next time. He goes and he makes it. And the euphoria in his face of like, I fucking did it. And I'm like, great. I was like, and I even told him, it's like, hey, look, I'm happy about that. That's great. But it's your hard work that I like. That's what I admire about, you know, what you're doing. So those are the lessons I learned from baseball that I was able to provide my kids, you know. And it's kind of like what you were saying. It's like nobody is owed the happiness of a win, of that first basket made, of that fucking ground ball, of that fucking strikeout. You're not owed that. But if you work hard, you put yourself in a position where when the opportunity comes up, you can execute because of how much you've been practicing.
And it means more to you as well because you've put in that time and that effort.
100%.
Like, I think that's beautiful of looking at it that way with your kids. Like, I'm not disappointed that you didn't want to do it. I'm disappointed in, like, the lack of effort. Not saying that you have to be the best at this.
No.
But it's the effort. And I think too many parents, and again, everybody's raised differently, so you can't always, like, blame people for the way their parents raised them. But, like, I think too many parents, like, maybe they were raised a certain way or they have this different kind of thought process that, like, so your kid does lose at something or wants to quit something, like, they're very quick to be like, okay, yeah. Like, to make their kid happy, to be like, okay, let's keep... You have to... This sounds weird, and this is somebody who doesn't have kids, but this is somebody who obviously grew up with both my parents.
Yeah.
As a parent, you have to make your kids hate you just a smidge, I think. Like, just a smidge, like, that annoyance. Like, but it's, like, not annoyance, like, there's a lot of things you can get annoyed at for your parents. Like, do the dishes, like, no. But it's like something like that, like not letting you quit.
Yeah.
I want to see you put the effort in. Now, if you put the effort in and you still don't like it, at the end of the day, I'm not going to force you to do it.
100%.
I'm not going to make you do it.
Yeah.
The thing that's the most important is the trying.
Yeah.
Putting in the effort.
Yeah.
Because win or lose, at the end of the day, you're going to feel, even though you don't see it now, you're going to feel good about it later. I can't tell you how many times when I was a kid, my parents said, well, you hate this now, but you're gonna appreciate it later. Yeah. And there's so many things I look back and I'm like, God, I'm glad they pushed me.
Right.
I was mad as shit that one weekend, but I'm glad they pushed me or didn't let me go do that one thing because this happened. Like, well, you know, hindsight's 20/20 with a lot of things, but I think just not pushing your kids.
Yeah.
And here I am lecturing a man with 5 kids.
No.
But like people. Not pushing like a kid, like, and it could be like what you said, like with Brooklyn. It doesn't have to be sports. It's drawing. Find your baseball. Yeah. Find the thing that you want to do, and help push them. Yeah. It's not force them to do it.
No.
Because like if I have kids, like I would love for my kids to play sports, and I'm gonna push them, but I'm not gonna force them.
No.
Like push them into things. Yeah. But not force them. And I think there's a very fine line between those two things. And there's this weird subsect of it that they don't push. They're like, oh, you instantly don't like it. Well, okay, you don't have to do that because I don't want you to be upset. Like, no. Yeah. You have to get upset. You have to lose. Yeah. You have to lose in life to become better. Yeah. And that's such a weird thing to say, but if you really look at it, it applies to everything. Yeah. Not even just sports. Mm-hmm. Family. Yeah. In life. Yeah. At your job. Yeah. In relationships. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't be where I am today in my relationship if I hadn't lost in a lot of relationships and learned a lot of things. Like, things suck at the time. Were they heartbreaking? Yeah. Was I thinking, I'm never going to get over this? Yes. But you do. Yeah. And I think it's all about your mindset on things like, this isn't the end of the world. Yeah. The worst thing that can happen is I die. Yeah. Yes. I ain't dead yet. Yeah. So, no, 100%. I have nothing to complain about. Yeah. Well, what I also, and I bring Brooklyn a lot because she is my oldest, and she's 18, so it's like she's an adult now. Right. But what I tell her is, which makes me and you both feel old because I was there the day she was born, the day after we graduated. Yeah, bro, we're twice the age of when she was born. God. Yeah, it's crazy. But one thing that I tell her is that and let me think about it because I just forgot. But what I was saying to her is, what the fuck were we just talking about? I got it. So what I was telling her is that, like, anything your body can feel, it will feel, right? So I feel like sometimes what I hear in these generation, like because psychology wasn't that advanced when we were young, but as we hit, like, I know a lot of kids we grew up with went into psychology. Well, guess what? Yeah. Our parents weren't into psychology. No. They graduated, and there's a need. They need customers. Yeah. A whole bunch of more people that are into these social
fields. And so they like, I hear a lot of the terminology and I don't disagree with it. The only thing that I hope that I kind of feel was also talked about is that our bodies are made to feel happiness and to be content and all this stuff, but they're also made to feel pain and sadness. So I feel like there's a lot of talk about, like, you know, getting better, getting to that positive side of life, as if we're never going to go into those sad parts. But it's like, my body's made to feel sadness. I will feel sadness in the future. And I think that, like, what we're like kind of going along with what we're talking about is that we've practiced how to deal with sadness so much through this avenue of sports, through failure. And but you're also learning how to deal with that sadness for when things do make you sad in the future, that you're able to deal with it and know that it's like, hey, you're not owed happiness. And it's also unrealistic to think that we're always going to be happy. You know, like, you're going to be sad and it's okay to be sad.
Yeah.
But okay, cool. So that's what we've learned from baseball, right? Now I know another part of your life.
I like how most of this has been a sports related podcast.
Yeah. Well, it's because I think like that's something we both like connect with. We both are there. Another thing that I think that we connect with is with music, because another thing that about you is that you were in choir and you were pretty successful in that as well. So another part of me is that I've played music, so I'm interested into because your strength is actually my weakness. Like, I've never been the best singer, you know. I've played instruments, but singing is something that has been hard for me. I didn't join choir and all that stuff, so I never learned how to sing. But what got you into choir?
Honestly, I don't remember vividly what got me into it. I remember I started in 4th grade because it was the first year you could join choir.
You had to pick an elective, right?
Yeah, and I think that's what it was. It was, but like I had already been like, just not that like I was. How old are you in 4th grade? However old I was, like I wasn't like, oh, I know every lyric to every song, but like I had a tune, and my dad my whole life. And I think it's one of the reasons why I love Elvis is he grew up loving Elvis. So my entire youth was him just walking around the house singing Elvis.
Yeah.
And my dad has a very low baritone bass voice like I do.
Yeah.
So I kind of like adopted his style. But getting into 4th grade, there was choir. I'm like, okay, I can do this. And then I went throughout middle school. It was really funny as a boy. Went to 7th grade. I was in choir in 6th grade, and I was a tenor. I came back in 7th grade, and all of a sudden I was in bass. But it opened my voice up to so many different things, and I was more surprised. Kind of like going back to baseball, I was more surprised at myself singing than I was anything else ever. Because in 8th grade, 7th and 8th grade, I went back to back for UIL. They had a solo contest things. Now UIL also has like group choir things, like certain like, you know, subsections of group, like all men or all women. And UIL is essentially, if you don't know, it's like state awards for like schools and stuff like that. So they had it for choir as well. And I won solo contests 2 years in a row. Like, essentially, like...
That's...
Like, or not one, but I got a gold medal.
Hell yeah.
For, like, essentially, you go into a room. It's, like, the most nerve-wracking shit.
I bet.
Like, being in a choir is one thing. You're with 30 other people.
Yeah.
But, like, something like solo contests, I'm in 7th grade, 8th grade, and you go into a room with 3 adults, and you're just by yourself.
They're like, sing me a tune, boy.
A cappella. So you have to learn a song in a cappella and sing it in front of them with like no like make sure I get my tone. Like you gotta have it. You gotta know it when you go in there.
Yeah.
It's literally like American Idol tryouts. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And it was wild because the 2 years that I did it, one of the judges was the head choir teacher at Naaman. So I got a gold medal in solo contest 2 years in a row. I still have the gold medals.
Hey.
To be like, hey, I could sing at one point. He ended up being he ended up being my choir teacher, and he knew me. Like when I came in my first day freshman year, he's like, "Hey, Jonathan." I'm like, "He already knows my name. Okay, that's really dope." And went throughout all of high school in choir. Told the story about how when I told everybody that I'm gonna whoop their ass, I went and ate lunch in the choir room because nobody else I knew was in choir. All my friends, like I had choir friends, but like my main friends, like Scott, they weren't in choir. Yeah. I'm like, hi, they don't know I'm in. They don't even know where the choir room is.
I see you breaking out into song, and they're like, do 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 do, just like a sad song.
But like then I was in show choir. I was in a thing called Renaissance where we would go around to malls and old folks homes and hospitals like that and sing Christmas carols and shit.
That's dope.
It was that was all super fun. And then out of high school, you know, Scott talked about when he was here about, you know, all the different bands and stuff that he was in, and I had never really done that kind of thing before. And I like how you mentioned. He was like, "Oh yeah, no, they." The only time I'm gonna talk shit about Scott, just because I have to impersonate him to get this story right. So how he's like, "Oh yeah, man." So I was in bands, and then they invited me into this. I like how you talked about the one big band that he was in. He mentioned briefly, he's like, "Oh, I was in a bunch of little shitty garage bands." Well, he was in 2 of those shitty garage bands with me, son of a bitch. So we started. Our first one was with a couple of people that you know, and it was very shitty. We recorded one song and it was terrible.
Yeah.
And but like that was the first time I went from singing to screaming.
It's a whole different animal.
It was a whole different animal, and I had gotten into that music, like growing up with Scott and like all our friends, like we were into that music, and Scott's the one that got me into like that rock style of music. And that was my only really foray, and that's kind of my last time ever singing was in those shitty garage bands that we were in. Hey, one of those shitty garage bands, at least we played at the Door in Dallas.
Oh, there you go.
We opened at the Door. So
they've been close in the DFW area. The Door back in the
in Deep Ellum
2000s in Deep Ellum.
Yeah,
that was a big deal.
It was.
Yeah,
it was.
And it wasn't hipster Deep Ellum that is now. It's a biker bar, homeless.
Oh yeah.
It was like legit. Definitely not a place that 16-year-olds should have been. Well, so when I was going, I was like 16. I was in high school because you know I was in the band.
Yeah.
So but you guys probably went like more closer to like 2008, maybe.
Yeah, 2008, 2009 ish, and then. The shitty garage bands failed, and then Scott moved on to bigger and better things. And to the group that he talked about, like, we were going to record an album and stuff like that, and I just like how you threw it in, like, I was in a couple of shitty garage bands with me, bitch.
Yeah, that didn't matter.
No, it's fine.
Yeah. So I mean, what did you get from music? Like, what was it that, like, at the end of, now that you removed from music, like, when you look back on it, what was either the lesson or the thing you took away from it?
Music's always been a comfort to me. Like, when I sang music, like, it was a huge comfort, but it was also like, I'm learning. Like, I'm learning, you can do all these different weird things with your voice. Like, if you just change the shape of your mouth or like breathe a certain different way, stuff like that. It was fun to me, but it was also challenging because it's a lot like sports, but it's also not, because not everybody has the gifts to sing. And not saying that like, oh, I'm like this great gifted singer, but like I was blessed to have the vocal range that I did, but it was a lot of work. Like, people, I think like there's a really negative connotation, especially in like what we react to now, like people having vocal coaches. Like, even it's like, oh, super famous people, why do they have vocal coaches? Like, it's just like training for sports. Yeah. Like, training your voice is such a huge thing. I in high school, my freshman year, I went from getting those gold medals in solo contests in middle school to then in high school getting a vocal coach that part of the school, like in a program or whatever, like after school twice a week, you go work with a vocal coach. Totally changed my perception on like singing and everything, because I'm like, oh, like just all kinds of different things, like how like maybe I'm straining too hard and I don't realize it, like backing off at certain points and like singing something like with maybe not as much force. Oh, it sounds so much better if I do it like this, like changing my octaves, like doing different things with my mouth, my tongue, like all those kind of things that you don't really learn until you have a vocal coach, because they teach you like how to bring out those best aspects and things. And it was challenging, but music has always been kind of like, when I sang it, like it like, I don't know, the best way to describe it was like, oh, like it's fun, but like I'm like, that was about it.
Yeah.
But like music, just like listening to music hits me totally different. Like I can hear a song and boom, instantly be transported back to a certain time. Like in a certain time in my life. But like for years after the shitty garage bands, like until I was like 25, like I would listen to music. But after I hit like 25, I kind of just stopped listening to music in general. And it's like not even, and I've always been like every genre, country, rap, techno, like pop, girly pop. I love like girly songs. Like what you consider girly songs? Like I love to jam out.
It's funny you say that. So,
but they make me feel a certain way.
I told my wife, because I play guitar and I like to sing too. But I tell her that the melodies in girly music are, like, to me, they just sound so good. Like, one of my favorite melodies is like the girls like to have fun. I know it's silly, but
like you can't not love that.
But I like the verse where she's like, ba-da-ba-ba, ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. I was like, damn, those melodies that women, because Billie Eilish, like, they just have certain melodies. So I like to recreate a lot of like girl songs when I'm playing guitar, but it's just because the melodies to me hit slightly different than melodies. I mean, and of course I'm a guy, so I listen to a lot of guys.
No, I get what you're saying though. Yeah.
So do you ever sing that? I mean, because the knowledge of singing is always there. You never unlearn it, right? Do you still use it as a tool, like to calm you, like yourself? Like, do you ever? Because sometimes I feel like when I'm high stress, like I'll sit there and I'll sing guitar, like I'll play guitar and sing. Do you still do any of that? Like, do you use music to calm you, like singing wise?
I think subconsciously I do. I don't think I do it consciously. I'll catch myself like either whistling, which Emily, my girlfriend, hates because I'm so loud when it comes to whistling. So I'm like right in her ear. She's like, but like no, I'm like, I'll just like in her ear. I use a lot of music though for motivation. Like if I'm gonna clean something, like I'm like, Alexa, turn on BTS or whatever. Like, and it's crazy how this channel has like refurbished my love for music. So like I said, so like when I was like 25, like I just stopped listening to music. Like there'd be the big hits that come out, like everybody knows, like okay, but like I wasn't like in music, right? I wasn't researching artists, like waiting for like, oh man, I can't wait till Eminem's new album comes out. Like when I was younger, but like after I hit 25, like, and I think it was just kind of a situation where I was like, I'm in the workforce, I'm out all day. I got it super into like talk radio, like sports talk radio, and like it's so funny as a kid. Like I would be in the car with my dad and you listen to talk radio. I'm like, this is the most boring shit I've ever. Why would you listen to this? And like, here we are now doing the same thing. Literally.
And so we pacify ourselves as Cowboy fans. It's like, oh, they have hope. I should have hope too.
Oh God, don't bring it.
Not this year.
Sad.
No,
but seriously, like it's like I got into talk radio, and then like for a while there I got into like political talk radio, and like I've grown so much like politically throughout my whole life. It's so weird, like to where now I'm like, I'll say it, like I'm very much in the middle. Like to me, like we're sitting here 3 days before the election. I hope neither of them win. Like really, like but we're stuck in such a weird rock and a hard place. But like that's what I've loved about this outlet. Like you know, and it's not obviously. Scott told the story last week. The M Theory was not supposed to be like a music thing. It was not supposed to be that at all. I wasn't even supposed to be part of it. But it literally did refurbish my love for music, because I went from 10 plus years of not really caring about music to like, okay, like BTS, like, okay, like everything happened the way it did. Looking into them, I'm like, oh, okay. And then learning like hearing from ARMY, hearing the fandoms, and then discovering new groups. There's a lot of like, it's so funny. We did a live with Nico from What You Got to Say a couple of weeks ago, and it was us, John, DT Parker, and the other guys from What You Got to Say. We were just kind of just shooting the shit about Jin's new album that's coming out and stuff like that. And we were talking about like the year-end awards, like the Mama Awards. And you know how like I love Jimin. Like I'm a huge Jimin bias, but I'm also a huge Jungkook bias. But I think a lot of that goes into like, as ARMY, you should be OT7. You're gonna have your biases, but you should support all of them. Now, will I say on the record, like I have numerous times, that I think Jungkook is a prodigy and he's a whole different animal and ball game? Yes, but that's not to take away from everybody else. It's just there's something about certain machines from certain groups. It's like that's the chosen one. Not to say, and there's gonna be somebody that takes this out of context. Not to say like, oh, he's better than everybody else. It's just to say maybe he has the tallest ceiling is not a disrespect to the other members. Not only because he's the youngest, but it's just I feel like he's the one that could break through the most mainstream and kind of already has. To deny his last year with his Golden album that came out, all the different hits that he's come out, like 7 with Lotto, and then his song with Jack Harlow, like those are big names. Doing a dance with Usher, like those are huge things. And not to say that Jimin didn't have a big year too. We're releasing, his Muse album, and Who was great. But like the conversation got brought up, it's like, oh, who should win album of the year? And I'm like, look, I love Jimin, but guys, let's. I guess maybe I come off too brash by saying, let's look at things logically, guys. Let's look at the body of work and everything that happened. Jungkook obviously should win. We, to this, like just a couple days ago, we're getting comments on our own channel, like somebody like, I listened to your podcast with What You Got to Say and John Reeves. I can't believe you guys would disrespect Jimin in this kind of way. I'm like, where the fuck did I disrespect Jimin? I just said Jungkook had a better year. And not saying that Jungkook or Jimin had a bad year. I'm just Jungkook performed at Times Square. He did Good Morning America. He did all these different things. Compared to Jimin, who was in the ARMY before Jungkook did, like Jimin didn't have the ability to be able to go and do these things. Like Jungkook did. By reason of the body of work, he should win. That's all we were saying. Not saying like, oh, he deserves it more than him. Let's look at things logistically. But like, I guess some people can't, and some people are like hardcore, like stand one person over the other, which is crazy. Like Jin had the Super Tuna thing come out a couple of days ago.
For sure.
Well, it was like right as I want to say it was right as J-Hope was being released or something, and we did a reaction to it, the Super Tuna thing, and somebody was like, I can't believe Jin would release this at the same time. It's like, what are you talking about, dog? Like they're all like brothers. Like there's some fans out there that are absolutely insane. But 99% of them are great. But it's like those couple that sneak through, like it really bugs Scott, but like it doesn't bug me. Like he was like, will you reply to those people? Would be nice. I'm like, I'll reply to him. And I was nice and cordial, but I'm just like, I'd be happy to discuss this anytime with you. We're live on Thursdays or whatever. Like, come join it over there if you want to have a real conversation instead of just assuming.
You think Trump Harris is a hard debate? Jimin Jungkook is on another level.
No, that's but to bring it back what we were talking about, like it really has rekindled my love for music, even though there's like you have to sometimes watch what you say. Only because certain people are going to get upset at certain things unrealistically, but it really has reimpassioned or like reignited my passion for music.
Yeah.
Because like I care.
Yeah.
Like when we first started this, I'm like, oh, BTS, like that's cool. Like, oh, EXO, that's cool. But now I'm like, what's Jimin putting down next? I feel like I know these people on a personal level, and I never did that with any other artist before this.
No, and I think it's the whole culture too. I mean, the fact that you know that millions of other people are also going through the same experience, and
right.
I mean, it's something that I know you take serious, but I take serious as well. And the reason why this channel has changed because it like honestly, I don't have the same regimen that you guys that I did when I was with you guys. Mm-hmm. And the reaction started getting in the way of me becoming a fan. So like, you know, videos will come out and I don't have the regimen where I can, oh man, this video is going to come out. I'm going to drop it the next day. So instead of like, what's easy for me is just popping up the song, listen to it. And I was like, damn, that's a good song.
Right.
But because I'm using it for content and I'm not releasing for a week or 2 or even 3 later, next thing you know, it's like, I'm not listening to the music as a fan 2 to 3 weeks later because I'm wanting to react, and it just kind of started clashing. It's like, you know what? I think that I'm at the point where I just want to be a fan more than anything else.
Right. No, I get that.
I want to listen to the music. And yes, I love the channel and I love reacting, but I had to be honest with myself. I don't have the schedule to be releasing the way I would like. Mm-hmm. So that's, you know, another reason why we've had a transformation here on Supadupa.
I mean, I feel that too. Like not that I, in any kind of way, I have to do with like a schedule like yours, and I don't have kids. But I get that, like even like right now, like we have like 5 or 6 videos recorded. Mm-hmm. I should have put out one this morning, but I didn't. But it's not like, it's not for like a lack of like, oh, I don't want to. I'm just like, man, sometimes life gets in the way, and I'm just like, by the time I get to like sit down and like, oh, I wanted to put this out, I'm like, well, and it's such a weird thing with us to put it back behind the scenes, like being in America, listening to a lot of South Korean artists, like there's 12 hours ahead of us.
Yeah.
So like our upload times like are so weird. Like I'm still to this stage where I'm trying to figure out when the best time to upload. Like kind of one of the best times for us is 10 p.m. Local time.
Yeah.
But that's also like the way YouTube's weird algorithm is like, yeah, it's great. It's hitting them like on that side of the world at the perfect time because it's 11 a.m. for them in the middle of the day. They're going to lunch, like, and you see a huge boost. But like, RIP our American views, because who the hell's up at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday? There's some people. There's some people are.
Yeah.
But like, it's kind of a weird balance to try to find a time to upload things. So that's why like, maybe I should have uploaded something this morning, but I didn't.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world, you know. But like, trying to find time to do things, like, it's a weird line of enjoying something and then like putting it up, oh, because we should put this up because it's new.
Yeah.
And like there's certain things that are like that, but I can get excited about it.
Yeah.
But then there's some things I'm like, I really like to do this, but then it like may not get like any views because of the time I upload it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's disheartening.
It is.
But at this point now, I looked at the other day, it was like 1,700 videos that have been uploaded on the Ant Theory.
That's fucking. That's a fuck ton, dude.
I'm like, the body of work speaks for itself. I can miss a day.
Yeah, 100%. And that's actually something I wanted to touch on too, because like, so, okay, you've been doing the Amp Theory, but out of all my friends, you've been the one who, how can I word this? I guess for the lack of being able to put this in a different way, like you've been wanting to do the YouTube thing, I think more than other people. Or maybe I don't even want to, but you have done the YouTube thing longer than anybody that I've known. Yeah. When did that first become a thing?
Really back when YouTube was in its infancy. Honestly, it actually goes back further than that, because I mean, back when we were in high school and right out of high school, like I had a camcorder and we would just record dumb shit. Me and Scott would. Yeah. Like there's the one time right after high school, we recorded that party at Scott's house. Yeah. Like we were just like recording stuff like that because it was like, and we had no reason to. We were just like, oh, let's record this. Yeah. So like it started like with stuff like that, and then it was like just recording stuff for each other, and like I want to say like one of the first things we really put out there was for years we had which my mom hated this, but my sliding glass doors in my house had not only a lock but then like a wooden stick on the bottom for the track to also help lock it.
Yeah.
Well, me and Scott took those sticks one day and had a sword fight in my backyard. Well, I ended up breaking the sticks, which was not good for me. But we had recorded it on my VC, my little camcorder. We watched back and we thought it was funny. We ended up recording another one, which was funny as hell. It then led to us creating one online, but it essentially we went to home. Like it was the first time like anything we did for like an actual video. We went to Home Depot and bought broomsticks. For like super cheap. Like taped them up on both ends and had a legitimate stick fight, but we recorded it. Now, there's a lot of people that will never see the light of the day of that video because it's just so dumb. But it just started like that. Like, let's just do dumb things. But it was never especially then, oh, I want to do this to become viral. Because being viral at that point online wasn't even really a thing. It was happening to people, but it was very few and far between.
And YouTube didn't exist at this time?
No, it did. So this is like 2009-ish, 2010-ish. Because on my my OG YouTube channel that's still up, I want to say, let's see, what's the oldest video? This will really tell you date wise. And it was just really really dumb videos. Like this goes 19 subscribers from all the way back in the day. But the first video on here is a video I made called Top 10 Douches of All Time. Kanye West is number 1, by the way. I was ahead of my time.
Oh, damn.
But this was,
you called it.
It was uploaded February 2nd, 2010.
Oh, wow.
So there's things that go back from there, but then there's Scott Hates This Video, Jmac and K Nasty's Dance Remix Volume 1. But it was just us lip singing the different shit.
No, TikTok before TikTok.
Essentially, yeah. Who created TikTok?
Yeah.
But it started with just dumb things like that because I got a computer, I had a webcam, and so a lot of them were just on my computer, just doing dumb things.
Yeah.
And then I got a better video camera, and that's when we did the first To Catch a Predator video. Because To Catch a Predator was on TV, it was a hot thing. So just something in our head well, let's make a parody of this because we think we're funny.
Yeah.
We're sitting around just talking shit, and you know how it goes. We think we're funny.
Yeah.
And then some people find it funny, but if you don't know, and then it just looks weird. I'm essentially on the internet, looking I made myself a sexual predator in this video. I'm God, I hope nobody looks at this and takes this legitimate. Dusty. That's
funny.
But I created this character, but it was just a really dumb skit, and then that got very similar to the Amp Theory. My other videos are getting 20 views, 100 views at the most, but this one got 5,000. We were whoa, whoa, bro, we're viral. Definitely weren't.
Yeah, it's funny.
And then it just kind of led one thing into another. Just okay, what's the dumbest thing that we could do? And so we did a lot of it revolved around zombies because zombies were so hot in 2011. But we did.
You did the zombie movie, right?
Well, I first did. Hi, I'm Billy Mays here for the Brain Tainer. Where Billy Mays had just died. So he came back. I came back as a zombie as Billy Mays and was selling containers to keep brains fresh in because he was a zombie. It was a really dumb skit. And then it led into one night, and I feel a lot of times, when we record shit, it just comes off the top of the head. Some of my best ideas ever been,
let's fucking do it.
It was 9:30 at night, on a Wednesday.
Yeah. And
I called Scott, who me and him were both jobless at the time, so we can do this. And I call him and I'm what are you doing? Nothing. Bring your makeup. And he, being he had all the stuff to make the zombie man. He had the the glues and the latex and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Dressed me up as a zombie, and we had no script, but we went out in the driveway of the back of my house, and it looked all creepy as hell. And so I told Scott, I'm like, here, record in the car, talk about like how we're at this abandoned spot. We just put it together on the spot, but like I'm in full zombie garb and blood all over me. Like luckily nobody just drove by through the alley at 1 a.m. or whatever.
Yeah.
But like we just did that, and then shot it over like a day and a half, just being dumb. I somehow put it together. It took forever to put it together. I remember putting it together. It took me like a day and a half to put it together. Now it would take me 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But I put it up, and it still to this day, it has like 40,000 views. I'm like, what? But it had like 10,000 like a couple of days. I'm like, whoa, we're viral again.
Yeah. That's
nowhere near that. But that was like, I never did it to like, oh, I want to be famous. Like, I just did it
for fun,
just for shits and gigs. And like did a bunch of like, we would go on vacations with our friends, and I would make movie trailers for our vacations, but never like actual full on movies for our vacations. It's just the trailers were good enough because it just reminded us of that time.
Yeah.
And then I saw him doing it for years.
Yeah.
Like the last one I did was like 2013, 2014. And didn't really post, like didn't really think of doing it after that, because like I wanted to be a YouTuber, and like I got monetized, but like then like I was kind of by myself. Not that Scott wasn't around, but I'm like, how, like I don't know what to do. Like I was creatively stifled, and there was a lot going on, like personally, like relationships, shit like that. Like I remember, like one of the main reasons I stopped was in a relationship I was in, and at the time I thought like, oh, I have a girlfriend, we can make content together or whatever, and it never came to fruition. And then it just kind of became one of those things where I'm like, it's a silly little thing. Like I have to be an adult and go to work and do all these other things. So I never really thought again until, like you called and you were like, hey. So we tried to record our first podcast episode. Not using Scott's phone again because it didn't work. And so you knew I had the experience from that. And so
I think Scott's the one that called.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'll just come record. Like it's not that hard. And one thing led to another, and it became what it became.
We
ended up doing our own To Catch a Predator to smooth together.
Right? Yeah, we did. So you did all that YouTube stuff, right? So when we hit you up, I guess, what were your first impressions like whenever you started kind of doing stuff with us? Like, what was the thought in your mind? Like, what did you think it was gonna be?
I strictly thought it was like they need somebody in the background to help them, like with the the actual like uploading and like taking the burden off of you guys. Like I'm like, oh, I have the time to sit there and put the audio together with the video and upload it and put a couple little bells and whistles on it, stuff like that. I'm like, oh, that's nothing. Like that's fun. But I think it was kind of one of those things where collectively, like we did like 10 episodes of like the podcast, and I think it really changed when it started to become hot as hell at your old place, and we were recording in your garage. And I just so happened to move into my new apartment. I'm like, hey guys, we can do this over at my place. I have air conditioning. But at that same time, we were thinking like, I think maybe we recorded maybe one more at my place, like the old structure of the podcast. But I think we kind of collectively came to a thing that's like, what if we just kind of talk about like anything, like make it like an actual like podcast instead of like a certain topic, and then kind of piggybacking off of that and going into the stories. Like just kind of let's just go into an episode and riffed it. And I am 99% sure that podcast episode is titled Unscripted too, because it was the first time like, oh, we don't have a topic, let's call it Unscripted. And we just kind of shot the shit.
Well, because whenever I was talking with Scott about the whole thing, we had an idea of what it was going to be, right? When he told me to bring you along to do all that other stuff, I was like, okay. Like it threw me off because I was like, the only reason the shit didn't work the first time was because he didn't listen to me and didn't let me put on my phone, because my phone doesn't go to sleep, yours does, But I was like, you know what? That's fine. So when he brought you in, the thing that drove me crazy is that you weren't mic'd, right? So I wanted the quality of everything to be good. And I'm like, look, we have a mic. I kept telling Scott, don't talk to him. I was like, because you can't hear him.
Yeah, you couldn't hear what I was saying.
You know,
yeah.
so it's
barely. If you turned the volume up, you were like, ooh.
Yeah. So it's like we just don't have the tools to have that, because if you had a mic and people can hear what you were saying, that's a different thing.
Right.
You know, but it was like 2-3 episodes and he just kept talking to you. And I kept telling him, it's like, bro, stop talking to him, right? But then at the time we were having like weekly visits of how to make the podcast better.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think it was your thing. It's like, you know, hey, how can we make this better? And I think I picked up a tone of frustration, but I think you were like, look, guys, if y'all want to like be more popular, we have to talk about more popular things.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right. And so whenever he like pitched the idea of bringing you in, like he's like, hey, he's just going to come in here. He's not even going to be like part of the podcast. He's just doing this. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't down with that, because I was like, I don't want somebody involved in the podcast that doesn't have anything to lose. So that's why I was like, you know what? If you're going to do this, you're going to be a third owner.
Yeah.
You know, like I wanted you to have skin in the game, because I wanted you to put as much effort into it as we were. Because the last thing I wanted was to build a structure with the three of us and you could just easily walk away.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, well, now we're at, you know, we're back where we started, you know? So that was my thought process of like, what, you know, when I told you, it's like, hey, if you're going to be here, you're now a third owner. However successful this is going to be, like you're going to get a third of any of whatever happens, you know, which in hindsight was a great idea because I feel like, you know, you were invested. But then, so then we did like the butter reaction, and even like Scott was talking about, like, you were the only one that could really walk away from that and just be like, whoa.
Look,
you know?
and I'll throw myself into the fire. I'm the one that fucking edited it and put it up.
Yeah.
So I was the last line of defense, and I was not very defensive apparently.
Yeah.
But I was, again, it's when that happened, it was our humor, but it was a very valuable lesson that we realized, like, oh no, not everybody understands our humor.
Yeah.
Of course, we didn't think anybody was gonna see it. Yeah. We were like, okay, nobody's gonna
get like 100 views on
nobody's gonna watch this. But like our friends and family that know us, like, oh no, they don't know us. They know we're not being serious. Yeah. They know we're just shooting the shit, just trying to say shit to be, you know, funny and controversial in a funny way.
Yeah.
We learned very quickly that's not the route to go.
No, yeah.
But it was a good thing in hindsight because I think, number one, it made us better people, made us more self-aware.
Yeah.
And kind of, we had that happen. It was like, oh, this has got to be the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah.
I won't talk about any other incidents that we may have had with videos on the channel or not on the channel. Maybe it wasn't the worst thing that happened, but it kind of was. But it was kind of that motivation. It was like, okay, there's obvious lines that we can't cross here. Obviously, it was a very good eye-opener. All right, I said I wasn't going to talk shit about Scott, but now I'm going to talk shit about you and Scott at the same time. It was a very good eye-opener for you guys to realize that
the power of the internet.
A lot of this shit that y'all say is funny to y'all, but not everybody.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of goes back to something y'all talked about last week, how you guys were talking about the whole Pinky story, the discipline, and like you were both talking about like, oh, I don't think Jmac is more reserved than that. Like, if you know me, obviously I'm not, but like I'm very perceptive of like how the outside world sees us, and not that we're fake in any kind of way. Like every reaction, and you know this, like even when we did we don't pre-plan anything. It'd be so much easier to pre-plan videos. Like, oh, we're gonna say this at this moment, this and this. We're also not smart enough to do that, because every time that we do try to like, oh, let's make sure we mention this, like we always mention it, it seems very awkwardly placed.
Yeah.
In our discussion, because I'm way better at just riffing.
Yeah.
I can just riff and I'll edit it later. I can cut it down.
Yeah.
And but it was a very valuable lesson for all of us. But it was also like, to me, to like kind of stress to you guys, like, you have to think about the audience that watches this and is going to watch this. Like, we are three dudes.
Yeah.
90% of our audience, though, or women.
Yeah.
You have to take that into account. Like, they don't want to hear about Scott getting a pinky up his ass, joking.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny to us, but it's not funny to them.
No, it's not. Yeah.
And that's where I was coming from with the
100%.
whole thing. It wasn't like, oh, I don't find these things funny. I do, but in the right context.
Yeah.
And not to say anything about you or Scott, but you guys have a very more immature
100%
comedic sense of things than I do. Not to take that away. I can be very immature and be very dumb about the shit that
I feel the most controversial things that have happened in the channel have been the things that have come out of my mouth. I feel like
I haven't said anything.
There's a lot of gates that have happened, like, you know,
a few gates,
but you're right. Like, you know, it's like you live and you learn, because it's like you're saying, it's not that, you know, we've ever faked anything. And I think that there's been even the time that there has been frictions has been because maybe it's like somebody says something and it's like, I'm just being real. And it's like, you know, you're right. You are the more perceptive one of all of us, or you're like, I'm not putting that in the video, you know?
Yeah. And sometimes I will. And I'll put like some controversial statements and stuff like that. But like, I don't know. I look at things like from a lens of, if this person who didn't know us saw it for the first time. And I like to have reoccurring jokes and stuff, because there's going to be people out there that reoccurringly watch you and like, oh, I get that joke. But like, then there's sometimes where, like, and even me and Scott will have this discussion all the time. Like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I just look at things in a very, my girlfriend had this conversation with me the other day. She's like, you look at everything so analytically, it's so literally. And I'm like, am I not supposed to do that? And I guess it's more so like, at times maybe I should release those reins a little bit. And like, because there'll be times like we'll record something and I'll be like, all right, let's make sure we hit this, this, and this. And at the end, I'm like, okay, shit, we didn't hit any of that. And then I go back and edit and I'm like, fuck, we didn't say this. We didn't say this. I wish we would have said this. But again, that's also going off of how we are. Like, we're real. We just riff off the top of our head.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess I've always looked at everything in a weird perspective, especially since we started doing K-pop reactions. Like, I guess I'm weird. I had this certain vision in my head of like how a video should go, but when you're with other people, you can't really always make that come to fruition.
Yeah.
Like, every time we start a video, I have an idea in mind. Like we clap in, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna intro the video, maybe say something silly at the beginning, like hook the audience in or whatever. But then, like, me and Scott were both our own individual humans. I can't tell him what to say, and I don't want to tell him what to say.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll say things and it clashes, and I'm like, I can't use that. Or like, I'm thinking too much. Like, as we're going along, I'm like thinking of the edit while we're recording.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this isn't gonna work. This isn't gonna pan out right. Or like, oh, I need to shorten this. And it's a very fine line, because I don't want to take away anything that Scott says. I don't want to take away anything that I say. But sometimes I do have to take those things out. And sometimes I feel bad.
Yeah.
And I never want Scott to be like, well, why'd you check out that one thing I said?
Yeah.
Like, well, no, it wasn't like, because it wasn't anything bad that you said. It just maybe, and I do it to myself all the time. I'll cut out like, okay, well, there's 30 seconds I can cut out, because I just kind of said the same thing over and over again. It's the substance of things. Trying to find that nice little motivation, or like that balance between like what we should say, what I should keep. I feel very chaotic. Like, and it's funny that we've always said that, but I feel very chaotic. Like, once we hit record, I'm like, I'm relaxed, and I'm having a good time doing what I'm doing, but I'm also like, I wish I could turn off my brain.
Yeah.
And I can't.
Yeah.
Like, my brain, like, at the same time, is always going 90 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, like, I'm doing it right now, where I just keep talking. And like, I would talk over Scott, but it's like, I'm not trying to talk over him. I'm just like, my brain is just releasing all the information that it has, and it's coming through this lens, and I don't know how to stop it sometimes. So he's like, oh, you're always talking over me. I'm like, I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You know, well, I mean, sometimes a certain thought comes into your mind. And I think that's something that, like, you know, I had to learn because we went, you know, just me and him. And like these situations are easy, right? Like just let you finish what you're saying, kind of try to remember the points that you hit so I could come back, you know. So it's real easy having these conversations. But then I went, you know, from just me and him to me, you, and him. And so that was something we had to practice, you know, was the three of us talking. And it was something that we, at first, you know, I noticed that as well, right? That you know, when you think of idea, boom, you know, you come out with it. And at first it was frustrating, but then instead of kind of complaining about it, like the way that I took about it is, okay, well, he's talking. This really allows me to go deeper into the idea, which also, once I'm by myself, I can't. It's like, hey, I'm the show. I'm talking, you know, and then I'm thinking about what I'm saying. I'm not really thinking about more in depth of like the video. So one thing that helped me being on a channel with you and Scott is that, like, it just so happens, like, there are some things that just naturally happen. And usually because you're so quick to talk, you would bring up the first things, right? And so what that allowed me to do is to really just digest what I had just seen. Yes, listen to you, because like I think a good thing that we had, the chemistry we have, is we build upon what the other person said.
Yeah.
But it really allowed me to think, and it allowed me to be more cerebral about it. But it only was because, like, you allowed me to give me that opportunity. Because then next thing you know, you're talking, and if you're long-winded or not, you just gave me enough time to just be like, okay, so he obviously he's talking about these points, but what are the more like in-depth points? What can I say that maybe somebody else hasn't said?
Right.
And so then when I was able to say, I think like I had some moments where people were like, oh yeah, you know, but it allowed me, because of you guys, to have that. But now that I'm by myself, I really don't have a lot of those moments, because I'm really just trying to be entertaining, talk about what I just saw, digest it at the same time, you know, which now in hindsight, I'm editing, so nothing stopped me from just being like, you know, and then just ending it later.
100%. And because I've done a few videos on the channel solo, which Scott always, he's like, why'd you do that without me? Like Scott has a big case of FOMO. I know you know that too.
Oh yeah.
But I never like do anything solo, like, oh, I'm trying to, I do it like, oh, this just came out, it's a little teaser, let's try to capitalize on it, because I know that people want to see it, and like if we do this 18 hours from now, like, it's not gonna really mean anything. So like things like that. But like even any kind of solo things, like videos that I've done on the channel, boy, they're so hard. Like, even though like I know going into it, like even like I watched like a body cam footage of this Karen. It was one of the hardest videos I've recorded, because I'm just by myself. I'm like, I'm trying to find funny things to say, or like come up with things off the rip, but it's just me.
And the content, that's
right.
Just
when there's other people, you can feed off each other. Like right now, I have made the second channel, the amphitheater channel, but I haven't really used it. But like I have a video ready to film to go on there. It's an in-depth breakdown of the Batman movie. Why the Batman with Robert Pattinson is the best Batman. I have an entire script written out. I know like what I want to do with it, but I haven't recorded it because I'm like, I don't know what to do. And there's kind of like not a fear, but it's like just kind of a like and it's not even self-doubt either. It's just like, how do I start this? Like there's so many YouTubers out there that are like solo and like they do it all the time. I looked at them like, how the fuck do you do that? Like, because I'm like, at the same time, like it's easy for me to edit when it's like it was us three, or if it's like me and Scott, because like, oh cool, like if I didn't like what I said I could just focus on Scott for a little bit and like let him talk and do his own thing, let it focus on him. But when it's just you, it's like, okay, it's just me. Like, there's nothing else I could feed off of. I'm like, okay, I need to make this entertaining. I need to make this watchable. I need to make this informative. Like, why? And then at the same time, you're like thinking, like, why am I doing this video? Like, you have all kinds of weird self-doubt things. But it's like something like, I really want to do this. But it's so hard. And realistically, it's not that hard, but it's so different. I'd say that's the biggest thing. Like, I get questions from people, like, and like from our friends. It's like, oh, I want to start a YouTube channel. Like, you know, what's your best advice? I'm like, just jump into it.
Yeah. Cause I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing.
Emily, my girlfriend right now, she's kind of starting her own thing, but like she's doing like crafting and like sewing, so something that's totally different.
Yeah.
And she just finished like she is like editing her first video the other day, and she had frustrations with it, and I'm like, don't get frustrated. There's going to be times where, like I said, I put up 1,700 videos on the Ant Theory channel, and I've always been like, I don't want to like take any kind of like major credit, but I've edited each one of those myself.
Yeah.
Uploaded it myself, changed the title myself, made the thumbnails myself.
Yeah. And
it wasn't like, especially like when we were together, and like even now with Scott, it's not like a thing of like, yeah, look at what I did. I'm just doing that. I'm like, it needs to be done.
Yeah.
And like we have a system down or whatever. But I have 1,700 videos plus of that repetition, and like she's going through her first one. I'm like, you're gonna have times where you're frustrated, you're angry, and you're like, oh, this is shit. Yeah. There's so many times where I finish a video, I'm like, well, that was shit. Yeah. And it wasn't like what we said. I'm like, bad edit. Like I hated that. Yeah. Or like may have half-assed my way through an edit. Like
at the very easy about it and stuff.
At the very beginning, I made all these cool cuts, and then like the last 2 minutes of us talking, I'm like, not making a single cut. It's just us talking. But it's kind of one of those things where you after time, like, oh, you get a hang of it. And so like when people are like, what's the best advice you can give me to like do a YouTube channel or whatever it could be, just do it.
Yeah.
That's the only way.
That's what we did.
That's what we did. We're uploading stuff, and one day something hit. Yeah. It was like, had no clue or inclination that K-pop was going to be our niche that we were going to jump into. And I'm very happy that we did, because it wasn't something that I really even knew about before we started. Now I'm like engrossed in the world. Like I'm on like following all the K-pop subreddits. I have different Twitter pages I follow for K-pop, like to get the news right then and there. Yeah. And I'm like, me 3.5 years ago, and I'm like, who's this guy?
Who's this guy? Yeah.
It's so different.
Yeah.
But it's doing it by yourself though. I don't know if it's a lack of motivation or if it's a lack of confidence. And I'm the first person to say I don't like any confidence. Like maybe when I was younger, but like ever since like being an adult, like I said, I kind of grew up about a show and like became who I am. It's more of a like, I don't want to put something out there unless to me it's perfect or it's good. Yeah. And doing that when you're solo is super hard. Yeah. Like when it's like a video together, it's like, well, this has to go out. We got to put this out there, like, all right, let's get it done. But like my own little solo side project, I'm like, it's like my baby. I'm like, I don't know how I should do this.
Yeah. And then you take, because then it's 100% you. You take things a little bit more personal. Like, let's be real. Like a lot of the views that we get when it comes to reactions, the stars are the stars. Right. And then you're like, great. Well, my life isn't only just K-pop. There are some things about me that I would like to do, other interests that I have. Right. And then you drop those things and then they don't get as many views and you're like, oh, yeah, yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of things that go into, being disciplined enough to do, kind of your own thing and all that stuff,
Yeah. And I fully realize that and I fully understand that. It's but not everybody does. Like I'll bring up Scott again. Like every once in a while we'll have a video, like we'll have a couple videos that are really good, and then one that's like, oh, this just came out but it only got 800 views. Like to me, I look at it, I'm like, okay, it's got lost in the shuffle, it got lost in the algorithm, or like we don't have as many fans for this group. Yeah, it's understandable for me. Yeah, as somebody who, and not, Scott's gonna listen to this, not taking away anything from Scott or anything like that, but like anytime that we dive into the analytics is I'm really showing him, unless he does a little research on his own, and every time we do, he's like, oh, that's cool, like learning new things. When he freaks out when he sees that. He's like, why did this only get 800 views? I'm like, it is what it is. Like a number of factors or whatever. Yeah, we had one the other day that like, oh, one of the new Baby Monster songs. Like usually, like we put our reaction out like an hour after it came out. Yeah. Usually when we do that, Like, we don't do it for BTS, obviously. We wait 24 hours. If we did do it for BTS, our numbers would be insane.
Yeah.
But we don't, because we respect the rule. But like Blackpink, we put it up an hour after it comes out.
Yeah.
200,000 views on that video. 100,000 views, right?
Yeah.
We thought the same kind of thing with that Baby Monster one. It had like 1,200 in a day.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell happened? The next day, though, boom, jumped up to 14,000.
Yeah.
It just got caught in the algorithm at the right time.
Yeah.
And not all of them do. We did the yesterday. We did the new Baby Monster. The other new Baby Monster video had 14,000 views in 2 hours. Yeah. It's just one of those things. The YouTube algorithm is so weird. So I think a lot of people, they don't know how to get started, and then when they do, you see numbers, and it's like, oh, that's discouraging. It's like, hey, those first couple of Theory videos,
nobody.
We're lucky to crack 100 views.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, if it gets over 100 views, it's better than anything we did beforehand. But now it's like after doing so many, it's like, God, I hope it hits 1,000 views. That'd be great. 10,000, oh, that's really great. Like 10,000 views, I'm like, I don't have to look at that video ever again. I don't have to look at the views, and then you look a couple months later, like, oh, that one did really good.
Yeah.
But it is like a demotivation. That's probably not the word. When you see something that's like, oh, it gets so few views, and that's kind of what my concern is about, like my secondary channel Batman video. Who's gonna watch this? Like, is it gonna fall into the right algorithm? Like, this channel doesn't have a lot of subscribers. Like, do I upload it on the Ant Theory? It's totally different than anything else we put on the Ant Theory, but there's followers on that channel. I'm like, so it's kind of like a weird thing. I'm like, okay, but I kind of want it to be my own like separate thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a weird kind of roll in the dice, but like at the same time, okay, like I'm processing it right now. I'm like, okay, well, we've been doing this now for 3 years. Like, I've had plenty of videos that didn't hit. Just fucking do it.
Yeah.
Just do it and see what happens. You know, can't be afraid. To do it.
I mean, that's what we're doing here. You know,
literally,
yeah. I mean, like, I try to continue doing reactions because it's what I was known for on the internet for the moment, and you're building a whole new channel, and then also it's a whole different product because people knew me. They might like me better with the two other guys, right? With you and Scott,
Literally had a comment yesterday that's still to this day. We had somebody comment yesterday. Where's Peter?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I miss him too. Trust me. Yeah. But like, as many times as we say, like, oh, you have your own channel, you forget there's so many people out there that maybe not have caught this message.
Yeah.
Like, so like that's why like every video we say like, oh, we have a Patreon, we have a Twitch, because it's like, the people who watch our videos all the time, they know.
Yeah.
But there's gonna be that one person that's like hasn't watched in months. Oh shit, they have a Patreon. They have this. Turning in months later, where the hell's Peter at?
No,
shit like that.
But you're right, and that was a mindfuck for me. It's like starting my own thing and realizing, oh man, we've done all this work on the Ant Theory. The view account is different. You do get discouraged. You're dropping things out on your own. You're trying different things, and it's on you. It's like, oh, this isn't a good idea. It was like, well, it was all my idea,
Well, to bump your ego a little bit, because this is your show, so I'm gonna bump your ego.
Appreciate that. Thanks.
We took quite a dip when you left.
Did you?
In the overall numbers, those first couple months after, like we took a significant dip compared to what we were doing.
Yeah.
And I think I attribute that to there was a certain audience that liked the three of us together and liked the chemistry that we had.
Yeah, we had good chemistry.
And like, not that me and Scott don't have chemistry. I mean, I've known us since we were 13 years old, so we have the chemistry there. But it was a different chemistry with three voices, instead of just the two.
Yeah.
Because, like, I can be, very analytical, but also most of, like, my persona is I'm fanboyish, like, and I get excited about things, which I do, because I genuinely get excited for this music because I'm in it now. I dove headfirst into it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, this is like, it started off with like, okay, this is this new genre of music, like I need to learn more about it. But as I learned more about it, I grew to love it.
Yeah.
So when I say like, oh, I love this, or like I genuinely do.
Yeah.
But it's a different, kind of response. Like with Scott, like he's very like, he'll break down everything very like instrumentally in like with certain things, like and like my thing that I can talk about the vocals, but then like you brought a very philosophical approach to things and like a more in-depth look on things. And I try to do that, but like at first, like when you left, it was more so like, so we're missing that gap. So like let me try to throw in some extra shit that I don't really know what I'm talking about, but I'm gonna throw it in there. And it was kind of one of those things where after a while, like we adjusted and I adjusted, like, okay, like, well, obviously can't replace Peter. We've just got to kind of do our own thing. And we were able to find our stride with that. But there's 100% a very, as somebody who, I look at the numbers every single day, it was a massive dip and just everything. And I think it was just kind of, and I get it, because there's YouTubers that I watch, and they like, somebody leaves. And like, I don't stop watching them, but like, there's just something different. It just feels different. And like, I guarantee there's a lot of people that watched us and liked you and maybe tolerated us, or like liked you and Scott, and like, who's the fat guy on the end? Or, you know, there's people that are going to be certain fans of you. And they see, oh, he's not on the channel anymore. Like, not that like, oh, I'm not going to watch them anymore. It's just kind of one of those things. It's like, it's like, okay, I can skip that video. I'm going to go to this one because my guy's not there anymore. Like, and I get that. So I never took that personally. But to boost your ego,
I appreciate it.
No, quite a dip. So we had to kind of relearn who we were. As like an AM Theory collective, like the two of us, even though like we know who we are, and we have a certain like chemistry with just me and him, but like, and honestly, like it had to change after you left, because it just wasn't the same kind of dynamic anymore.
Which is crazy, because I really didn't. I mean, you know, and in the last meetup, I did tell you that, like, I'm very grateful. Like, you know, yes, you always think, what am I contributing to this thing, right? So it's like, would I have felt good if nobody noticed I was gone? Like, definitely not, you know?
Right.
But I'm happy that there has been a continued success, because no matter what, like, I'm always gonna feel like the AM Theory, like, is mine, you know? Like, you know, being the genesis, like, you know, I brought like everything together, you know? So like, because it was like my idea to begin with, right? Like the first idea, hey, I'm starting a podcast, and then it became this. It would have never became that without you guys. So I don't want to, you know, be like, oh, I'm the reason we're here. I'm just saying I was the one that had the idea. But because of that, like, I never wanted the AM Theory to not be a thing, or to just not be as successful as it was, because I see it as like, oh man, like, this idea that I had, look what it's become, and I don't want it to die. So, you know, I do appreciate you guys continue it going, keeping it like, you know, the AM Theory, you know, and still putting the amount of effort that you guys did, because I would never want the AM Theory to not be a thing, you know, because then it would be the death of this idea that I had, you know.
And I don't want you to ever think that, you left for your reasons, but to ever think that you aren't part of it. That's like on our Instagram, I have like the AM Theory, Scott the buff one, Jmac the cute one, and then I put on there Peter, and always Peter the founder, because you are the reason why we have that channel. You are the reason we have that name, and I personally will never like forget that, and I will never personally like, oh, forget Peter, like he's gone. Like I like to randomly reference you and mention you all the time, because you are like, to me, like, you, it's not like you left like, I'm tired of doing this, fuck y'all, I'm out. It wasn't anything like that. You made the decision. It wasn't either of us. And like, look, man, you haven't been showing up. You're not doing this. You're not putting in effort. Like, you got to go. It was, you made that decision and came to us like a man. And gave your reasons for why you wanted to step away. And who on earth could say no? How dare you take care of your family, you piece of shit? You know. So it was like, I've never thought of it like, oh, you left us. Like, I've never thought of it that way. Like, could I see it in like certain analytics? Sure. Should I be that analytical about shit? No. But I like, that's why I wanted to mention it to you, because it was an obvious thing, but it was kind of a growing pain that we had to learn through. And I know you've gone through, and you've done, you've switched up kind of what you've been doing, and you're finding your own groove, just like how we had to find our own groove, and we've stepped out of just K-pop groove. We do a whole bunch of other stuff that we didn't do before. That's kind of the hardest thing I think about content creation is, even if you have a specific niche like how we do with K-pop, it's always so hard to figure out what is it that we do. Obviously new music, great. Yeah. But for example, BTS has essentially been on a hiatus. Now they've been releasing stuff throughout their hiatus, but at the same time, for example, the same time that you left was when they're all getting ready to go into the military. A couple of them already had, but we're slowly funneling in. At the same time, groups like Blackpink didn't really put anything else. EXO went on kind of a hiatus because a couple of members went into the military and were coming back. So at the same time, throughout the last, after that, because it was about halfway through the year that you left. Yeah. That last half of the year, there wasn't really anything else that was coming out. Yeah. So it was kind of there was new stuff, but even before that, when there wasn't new stuff coming out, it was consistent. And it was kind of one of those things where it was a combination that you left, so that viewership, the people who came to watch you, they all left. Yeah. But then also there wasn't really anything new coming out. Yeah. And so all the numbers kind of teetered down, and it took me a while to kind of focus on that and realize oh, okay, it is what it is. Yeah. And then talking to other creators in the space, I'm okay, I don't feel as bad, because maybe they had better success, but it wasn't far more expansive success, view wise, stuff like that on certain things. And it's kind of it's hard to navigate what should I do. I always bring up to Scott, we kind of got lucky and spoiled when we first started this channel. Yeah. Because think about it, when we first did Butter, and then we kind of fell down the rabbit hole, oh, let's do all this. Well, we did all of BTS's discography, all those videos. 10 years worth of content. Yeah. All of EXO's, all of Blackpink. And we had crazy success, crazy numbers. Our subscribers were shooting through the roof. Yeah. Well, when we finished all that, we're caught up. Yeah. We ain't got nothing else really to catch up on. So it's the views aren't going to be as crazy. The subscribers aren't going to be going through the roof, because we did all those things. And there's still people that find those original videos today, and those still get views. Yeah. But now it's I can it's weird. 2 years ago we would do a BTS funny compilation video and you get 80,000 views. Yeah. Fuck yeah. Now I can do one and it gets 2,000. Yeah. And I don't think it's a situation oh, they don't enjoy us watching it. It's just this is all kind of stuff that we've kind of repurposed, re-seen, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't know. It's the content creation space is such a hard thing to navigate. Yeah. Especially when you're very niche driven like us. Yeah. So that's why we've had to kind of step out, and we get shit for it from people who are Army. We don't only do BTS, and it's I know my friends who are in this content creation space who only do BTS. I know there's times where it's if I know I'm going through this, putting up certain content, it's not getting views. Yeah. I can only imagine how they feel. Yeah. It's very demotivating, but at the same time, it should be motivating. It's okay, what can I do to get better? What can I do to push more? Yeah. And our thing was doing different groups, finding newer groups and stuff like that. Yeah. Even more so than we did when we first started the channel, because we could do any video and it'd get fucking views. Yeah. Now it's not so much the case. Yeah. You have to find okay, I hope this does good. Yeah, and sometimes it's a little tough because it's to get into a group in K-pop, it's different than getting into any other genre. I mean, you're dealing with
more than 4 members. You got storylines, you got different things that they're dropping. So it's
and you got certain fans who are, I'm a super huge fan of this guy. I know every single thing about him, so you need to. But it's like there's 7 people in this group. There's 8 people in this group. It's like
I know when I did
I only have so much brain space.
17 when I started dropping 17.
Oh yeah,
it was one of the bands that started popping off on my channel, and there was a fuck ton of them. There wasn't 17 of them, but I think it was like 13 or something like that. And so then it's like, you know, I'm horrible with names, American and Hispanic names.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you give me, you know, Asian names, which don't register as names to me, you know, because again, the language barrier, you know. So,
right.
You know, you have some people that do have American names, you know. So like V was very easy for me because that's just
it's just one letter.
Yeah. But Jungkook, you know, was really hard for me to remember, you know. And then you give me like 17, and they do have like regular English names. That was easy.
Yeah.
But then, you know, you have very Korean, you know, Asian names, and I'm like
and then you have fans like, oh, I know his stage name, but then you'll have fans like in comments or say like, oh, like their government name. I'm like, wait, who is that again? Like, especially the first one, I'm like, fuck, who is that?
Yeah, you gotta look it up.
It's this guy.
Yeah.
Okay, fuck, I didn't know. You know, it's kind of a hard thing to navigate because you also want to be respectful
Of 100%. Yeah.
and you don't want to say anybody's names wrong.
Yeah.
It's a little funny, like being, I like to say, because we are, if you look at it really, we are dumb Americans trying to like pronounce some of these names. It's funny, but it's also terrifying because I'm like, I don't want to say anything wrong because I don't want anybody to like interpret like I'm trying to say something inappropriate or say something wrong. Like, so it's a weird thing to navigate. So
no, I was calling this guy Jun forever until somebody in the comments like, it's like pronounced like the month June.
Yeah.
My bad, you know, like my bad.
Oh yeah.
Oh, bro, and I mess up all the time. You remember when that Girl Gang came out?
Oh yeah.
You know how they spelled it with the
V? Yeah.
So, bro, I did that whole reaction calling it Girl Giving.
No, that's what I thought. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, it's Girl Giving. But I'm like, oh no, it's Girl Gang. Okay.
Yeah, no, I did the whole video, and then until I think, because I would watch y'all's reaction after I would react. Because, you know, that's something we did at the Amphitheater. We don't watch another person's reaction, you know, until after we reacted.
Right.
So then I watched it, and then you were like, yeah, Girl Gang. And I'm like, I'm such an idiot. I was like, I look so dumb on this goddamn video calling it Girl Giving.
No, but I had to do that beforehand because, like, if there's anything that I look at, something like, obviously, like, I know a video that we're going to do, and I'm usually the one that curates videos.
Yeah.
Scott should do it more, and he wants to do it more, but I'm always like, oh, we should do this because I should give him more free reign to like, let's do this. But like, I'm always like thinking like, what's like the hot shit that came out? Like, let's do this. But it's funny every time he suggests something, it does good views.
Yeah.
Don't tell him I said that. But it's like I'll find something like that, and I'm like, Girl Giving. Is that Girl Giving? I had to look at him like, oh, it's Girl Gang.
Yeah.
Like, okay, good. Whew. Okay, I'm glad I like that beforehand because. Not to like, not be like, oh, you're stupid. Like, it's like after the fact, you look at something like that, and I've had that feeling before. I'm like, oh shit, so dumb.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of us. Like again, what worked with the amp theory is you have these different personalities where you would look things up, and I'm like, fuck it, we're going in, we're doing this,
going in blind.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess you know, start you know, closing this out. What are your future plans? Like, where do you see the channel going? Yourself, you know, Jmac, the person, you know, what are your hopes for the future?
Channel wise, I would like to keep doing what we're doing. We finally hit 70,000 the other day, so we're close to the 100K.
That's exciting.
Scott likes to remind me all the day, like, we're so close to 100K. Like, see, I don't know. I'm very weird about it. Like, I think milestones are great. Like getting to 70K, that was great.
Yeah.
Especially like you left when we were like either right at 50K or right under 50K.
No, I was like 50 something.
But like that road to 60,000 like was right after you left. Like that was hard.
Yeah.
But the 60 to 70,000 has been a lot better because we've been able to, and it's also helped that we've had newer shit come out.
Yeah.
But it's been a little easier. But like I don't really look at look at milestones and stuff like that, when we first did, we did like, because it was like, oh my God, we have 1,000 subscribers. We have 2,000.
That was right.
And it all happened so quickly too. So that was fun at that point. But like after we got to like 50K, I was like, okay. I was like, so we're in it now. Like, and it still blows my mind that anybody would even want to watch any videos. But am I looking forward to 100K? Absolutely. Do I want the plaque right here, like on the wall behind us? Hell yeah. And when we hit 100K, and I'll tell you right now, I'm getting you a plaque too, because you deserve it. You put in to 100K, you put in at least half the work. To 50K.
I'll get half of it.
So that's gonna be a great milestone to hit. But like the next plaque you get after that is 1 million subs. Like that's not even, to me, that's not even fathomable.
Yeah.
Like we have a couple of friends that are in the 100K, 300, 200K subs. And like, to me, that seems like so far away. And again, they've been in it longer than we have. So I don't look at it as like the numbers. Like, I don't care. Even view wise, like, am I a little discouraged if a video doesn't get a lot of views? Sure.
Yeah.
Am I upset though? No. Because to me, I do it because it's fun.
Yeah.
The day it stops being fun is the day I won't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And Scott mentioned last time, he's like, well, when I'm done, I'm not going to let Jmac take over and do his own thing. Like, I will run this bitch into the ground till I'm 80.
Yeah.
By myself if I have to.
Yeah.
But that's if I'm still having fun with it.
Yeah.
So, like, future-wise, like, I'm excited for the next meetup.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. But other than that, like, I really don't care what happens in the future.
Yeah.
I just want to stay in the course for now. Like, I don't have any, like, giant goals for the channel. Like, because to me, like, if you expect disappointment, you'll never be disappointed. Not to steal that line from Zendaya from Spider-Man. But it's also kind of a true thing. And it's not that you should look forward to that. You should you shouldn't be looking at it as disappointment. It should just, I take it back to sports, to bookend this, to bring it back to what we started talking about. Losing motivates you. Not getting what you want to me motivates me.
Yeah.
So, do I want to get to 100K? Yeah. Are we losing though? No. And so, I don't look at it as like, oh, I have to push through this. Like, I'm doing it because it's fun.
Yeah.
And I love the people that we've met, the community that we've met. And at the end of the day, I'm just listening to music.
Yeah.
Like, what do I have to complain about, you know? Yeah. So, for the channel, like, I wanted to obviously continue to succeed. There's no plans on ending it any kind of time soon.
Yeah.
But there's also, like, no plans to, like, we have to get to this certain thing. Scott's answers may be different. Yeah. But, like, to me, I'm like, I'm having fun. And I'm going to ride this motherfucker till the wheels fall off. Yeah. If those wheels fall off in 5 years, cool. Yeah. If they fall off in 40 years, cool as well. Yeah. Well, I'm just going to keep doing it till it's fun. So I don't have any huge aspirations. I just want to keep going, having fun.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of YouTubers out there that are like famous. Like, I didn't get in this to like be famous. Not to say in any fucking kind of way that we're famous in any kind of way. Yeah. But it's kind of wild when you meet up with people and like, I watch you all the time. And it's like, that's a weird feeling, and I'm still not over that. Yeah. So I hear more of that. That's cool. Yeah. That's a good motivator. But like, I don't do it to get those compliments.
Yeah.
I don't expect that. If you say that to me, hey,
that's even better. It's just icing on the cake.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like doing it because it's fun. So
yeah.
No goals, no aspirations. Even though it's a weird thing to say, but I'm like,
no, it makes sense.
Just doing it because it's fun, man.
Yeah. You know? Oh, that's good.
So, I'm 1,700 videos in of editing. I haven't got tired of editing yet, so
hell yeah.
I think we're good for now.
Yeah. What about yourself personally? Like, what are some projects or things that you have going on that you wanna?
Building my life with my girlfriend Emily, which I'm assuming I'll eventually marry if she's lucky enough. No. No, honestly, growing my life more with her and just kind of improving on my own self daily.
Yeah.
You know, in the past, especially when I was younger, I wasn't always the nicest to myself.
Yeah.
Like in a motivating way. Like now, like, look, and there's at least two people out there that may think this, that I don't think I'm the most good looking guy, but I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, bet.
Yeah.
Like,
not the worst.
Not the worst. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not the worst. You know, and I've looked worse and I've been bigger. And, you know, there's been times where, like, if I'm happy with what I see in the mirror, is what it is. Like, I'm not fucking Brad Pitt. I'm not a supermodel. But, like, those kind of things, like, superficial things, like the way I look, all kinds of little things, like, I don't care about those. Like, all I care about life-wise is to stay healthy, happy, my family stays healthy, and I just keep living life. Because especially just the climate that we're in the world, politically, like, again, we're a couple of days out from the election. It's super, like, I keep joking, like, hey, you guys ready for a super normal week next week?
Yeah.
Can't wait for that.
Tensions are high.
But, like, even with, like, that, like, when I was younger, I would care so much about politics, and I would care so much about, this, and this.
Yeah.
And, like, if I say that now, there's going to be people who are like, oh, you don't care? Yeah. You don't care about this? I'm like, no, dog. Because at the end of the day, like, I can stand up and I can say what I can say. And I have a platform on the internet to be able to stand up and say certain things and support certain things.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there's nothing I can really control. So what I can control, though, is my own actions and care about the people around me and try to make a difference where I can.
Yeah.
I can't change the world. 100%. Let me be president. Hey, I'll get some shit done.
Jmac 2028 or
hey, put me on the ballot. No, because I think so many people are so tied up in identity politics, and so many people are, like, so worried about this and that and this and that. It's like, man, you get to live once.
Yeah.
And no matter what you believe, you know, people have all kinds of different beliefs, but, like, to me, I'm like, man, I'm here once. I'm gonna make the best of it.
Hell yeah.
I'm not gonna sit here with grudges. I'm not gonna sit here with anger. And that's something I've learned throughout life. Like, when I was younger, I'd be so angry at things. I'd hold grudges. As I got older, I'm like, none of that shit matters. What matters is what you do personally, what you do to provide for the people you love, how you're there supporting other people. And it could just be listening, or if they need somebody to talk to and give them advice. Like, it kind of depends on that. Being that person for somebody, or just being in the moment on things and not worrying about some shit you can't control. That's kind of how, like, I look at my entire life. So looking forward for the rest of my life, man, I just want to be a good dude who provides where I need to for family if I ever have kids, and be nice to people, man, and live my life, have fun. Yeah, not everything's gonna happen great. You know, there's gonna be times where you get knocked down. There's gonna be times where you're depressed, and there's times where you're sad. 99% of the time, those things are temporary. You know, you may be depressed. I've been depressed many times in my life. There's been times where I'm, you know, stay up all night, sleep all day, because I'm like, fuck the world, I hate all this, blah, blah, blah. But you get out of those funks. And I know it's hard for some people to get out of those kind of funks, but it's because you got to find things to help motivate you. Find what your purpose is. And to me, my purpose in life is to be a good person and be there for anybody who needs it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of I kind of see. And I look at the same thing on, you know, this YouTube content creation that we do. Literally had people come up to our face personally and say, you guys helped save my life. Like, you guys were such an outlet for me, like, when I was going through this tough time, like, and all we did was just make stupid ass funny reactions on the internet. Man, if I can do that and help somebody, I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of the same mindset I'm gonna go forward with. It's just be fun, have fun.
Yeah.
Be a light. Be there to listen if somebody needs it.
Hell yeah.
So,
well, I think that's a good way to end it, man. I want to thank you for, one, being on the channel, two, for all the hard work you've put in on the And Theory. and just being a good friend, man. I think, you know, we hang out with people, and as time passes by, you know, some people come and go, you know, but I'm really happy that we were able to reconnect, that we've been around, you know, that you've been around in my life.
This is the longest solo talk that you and me have ever had.
Yeah.
Like, we've obviously, like, been around each other. We filmed for so many years together, but, like, just one-on-one, just, like, talking like this. Like, it's the first time we've really done that, besides, like, having, like, good,
like, normal,
motivational, fun conversations, stuff like that about life and stuff. But this was a lot of fun.
I think, and honestly, this is great. You know, I hope that the people watching get to know you a little bit better. I know I've learned a few things about you, you know, doing this, and, you know, and again, man, just appreciate you being here. And
well, I appreciate you having me, sir. And I hope I'm also a repeat guest. I hope also this is the test too. Scott, are you still watching? I told him I watched his entire one. He's got to watch my entire one. So, Scott, if you're watching this right now, I want you to post on comment-wise in the video, Scott is sexier than Jmac. That's how I know who you watched it.
Yeah. And then finish it.
I could have said Jmac was sexier than Scott, but I'm giving Scott his... Can't say I'm sexier than Scott. It will upset him.
And then you got to put the little alien emoji.
That too.
Yeah.
Scott, you actually listened.
Yeah. Well, guys, appreciate y'all for watching. Thank you, Jmac, for coming in. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, we'll see y'all later.